are these people?
God. We're up to the portion of the program I did not really want to do. It's Eid. What Eid is the end of Ramadan, I believe. It's a big celebration. It has children in their Sunday bests. It's, you know, they've been fasting throughout the daylight for, is it 28 days?
Yeah.
And now it's over. The ceasefire's over and the bombs have been dropping. And on Eid, Abu Bakr Abed says, on Eid day, we're being slaughtered while Muslims prepare the nicest sweets and clothes. I'm absolutely enraged. And the Israeli military says a ground offensive has begun in Al Janina, a neighborhood in southern Gaza's Rafah. And I'm going to bring some other horrifying stuff, and I'm really sorry to have to do this, but they're doing this, so I have to. This is a Palestinian kid. Okay, I'm gonna pause this for a second. This is a Palestinian kid. Screams for the world to feel his pain after he and his family were injured in an Israeli airstrike on the first day of Eid. Eid Mubarak, everyone.
خليه يصور خليه تعال صور احكي هاي نفس العيد هاي نفس العيد هاي نفس العيد هاي نفس العيد تصور تعال احكي طلع هاي العيد الله ستر لك الله ستر لك تعال احكي احكي
So that's how I woke up. I think it was yesterday morning. It might even been this morning. Wait, when was this posted? March 30th. This morning. I woke up this morning to seeing these type of videos. I have a question. Yes.
What do you say when fuck Israel isn't enough? More importantly, what do you do? Because this shit gotta stop.
Well, first you don't stop reporting on it because they're trying to murder everyone who is. But and then you have to try to stop the people that are doing it by stopping the weapons manufacturers, by stopping the ships at the ports, by hurting the pockets and doing BDS and hurting the people that are funding this and arming this. I'm going to show some other horrific images here. Sarah Wilkinson. The Israelis targeted and killed a group of children while they were playing in a camp west of Khan Yunis after they put on their new Eid clothes. And I don't want to show up too close-ups because I don't want to have this stream pulled for graphic violence or promoting violence, because we're not promoting violence. We're showing what Israel did. Sarah also shared that as Muslims around the world prepare to celebrate Eid, Israeli troops topple the last standing minaret to symbolize the destruction of Islam in Gaza. Isn't that nice? Who are the terrorists again? This place is leveled and destroyed. Remind me again who the terrorists are.
Are we the baddies?
He was martyred alongside his mother this morning, wearing Eid clothes. He was alive this morning, looking forward to the joy of Eid, but the occupation stole those moments of happiness from him and the rest of his life. This is a friend of the network. How fucking depraved do you have to be to bomb starving people living in tents? It defies human understanding. I was shaking with rage this morning about this shit. But it wasn't just this morning. Indie Media Award honoree and friend of the show, Ricky Hale, Council of State Media, posted one of the worst headlines I have to read all year. The IDF has just decapitated another Palestinian child. The 40 beheaded babies mob have fallen strangely silent. I've just witnessed the harrowing footage of a distraught father kneeling over the remains of his son who was decapitated in an Israeli strike. He's literally holding the kid's head.
Holding the head.
The
talking
father
to the child still.
Stroked his son's cheek.
Yeah,
and
I saw this.
I'm not gonna be able to make it through. These sons of bitches. I mean, they blurred it out. I have the original without it blurred, but I'm not going to show it.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's no. As Mahmoud, the father, was speaking, a voice can be heard from the distraught onlookers saying, half of the rest were injured, and yet Zionists will justify all this bloodshed by telling you Palestinians love only death and then lie about the victims. So what lie are we going with here? Are we going to pretend this boy was Hamas? Fake a membership card like we did with Hossam. By the way, watch Reef and Collins' coverage about the...
Yeah.
Fucking kids.
The 3 dead journalists and the kids, 18-year-olds.
You're going to say he was standing over a tunnel holding a rock? What would justify killing your child, please? Let me know when you thought of something, because I'm sure they'll think of something. I've not heard Zionists' excuse for this murder yet. They don't even need him anymore, but sickeningly, they have been mocking the father and child on social media. We're talking about the sickest of the fucking sick here. When we were falsely told Hamas had decapitated 40 babies that had apparently justified genocide. Now, for the people on the podcast, I just scrolled past 2 tweets from monsters the other day. One of them saying to, quote unquote, just tell them Hamas won. That'll cheer them up, unquote. And the other one...
Nazis.
And the other one saying, how did they miss the father? Israel needs to step up its game. Wow. Watching a father hold his son's decapitated head in his hands after Israel murdered him, and this is what they say. Bot or not, with a blue check or not, those people, they're irredeemable.
I mean, we talked about 3 young men who were definitely men at that point because they grow up far too young in Palestine. Like, Beitar comes in, tells us there's no journalists there. Only Hamas. Fuck you. This is the kind of shit they fucking try to pull.
These motherfuckers.
So...
The world will not act. It will not even impose sanctions on the genocidal regime. It is Palestinians who must face sanctions, who must go without food, water, and electricity. You might be punished for speaking up for Palestinians, but you won't be punished for gloating about Israel's beheading children. The police won't even look into that. Just know this isn't the first time that Israel has decapitated a child. It's not even close. It's actually a regular occurrence.
Not even the second.
And it hasn't once received condemnation from any Western media or politicians. These child decapitating strikes are being carried out with the help of course, the Royal Air Force and the U.S. military, who are conducting surveillance flights and picking Israel's targets. If you're British, your tax money paid for this child's murder, instead of feeding our disabled citizens. Does that make you feel ashamed? Because it should.
It should. Absolutely, it should.
Whatever military objective you're trying to achieve must immediately stop if it involves decapitating children. The moment you decide children's lives are a worthwhile price to pay, you become a monster, and we all understand this. And you can't say, well, they're raised to hate Israelis. Why might they be doing that? Why might they be? Could it be because they're raised in a prison
I think Israel's
with
doing
no
a good
right
job on their own on that,
with no right of travel or passports or clean water or 24 hours of electricity a day or? Make no mistake, if Hamas had just decapitated a child,
but we gave them greenhouses that one time, Indy.
Oh, and they destroyed them and filled them with concrete. Because they thought they were poisoned. Make no mistake, if Hamas had just decapitated a child, anyone applauding it would be banned from social media and arrested for supporting terrorism. They would be expelled from university, and if they were foreign, they'd be deported. But when Israel decapitates children, you're portrayed as the good guy for supporting it. The people who disagree with you are punished. And Ricky is frightened right now for his safety in the UK, and I'm frightened for Ricky's safety in the UK. So support Council of State Media. Support Council of State Media. We need them more than ever. I love Ricky, and I really appreciate him and his journalism. But it doesn't end there, folks. I wish it did, but Kyle Anzalone, I only went to Indie Media Award honorees here. Again, Abu Bakr, who works with EI. You know, and we're going to have some Sana Saeed coming up in a little bit too. But here's Kyle. Here's a report from the WAPO. Israel is planning a more aggressive invasion of Gaza. Now, this was a week ago, so this was likely the planned.
Who are these people?
Thank you. The planned Gaza.
Hey, appreciate it.
The planned Gaza invasion. Thank you, Sean. I caught you that time.
Yeah.
Thank you. According to WAPO, Kyle writes, the Israeli military is gearing up for a major ground operation in Gaza that could last months or longer because they haven't killed everybody yet. Last week, Israel broke a ceasefire and hostage deal with Hamas and conducted large-scale bombings in the Strip that killed hundreds. The Post spoke with current and former Israeli, and by the way, we covered that extensively on this show last week. Go watch it. The clips that are up on How Do We Miss That and Indie Media Today everywhere and Rumble everywhere. The Post spoke with current and former Israeli officials who explained that, quote, the new and more aggressive tactics, unquote, would probably include, quote, direct military control of humanitarian aid like they haven't taken already or blocked, targeting more of Hamas's civilian leadership and evacuating women, children, and vetted non-combatants from neighborhoods in the West Bank where that's not Gaza, to humanitarian bubbles that they then drop bombs on after they make everybody sleep in tents. The official said those who are not evacuated would face a siege that is a, quote, more intense version of a tactic employed last year in northern Gaza, unquote. That's where they literally shot anything that moved. More intense than that. How are they going to more intense than shoot anything that moves? In 2024, the Israeli military carried out a version of the general's plan, an outline for ethnic cleansing drawn up by retired IDF generals for northern Gaza. And they cut the...
we covered that. Go look at INN News.
Yep.
The secret plan, Israel's secret plan, something like that.
Yep. And it was on the New Year's Eve, the Christmas special that we did on the Palestine coverage. I included that for sure. The plan again called for the complete evacuation of all Palestinian civilians south of the Netzarim corridor, not just north, but now south of the Netzarim corridor, a strip of land controlled by the Israeli military. Under the plan, if civilians don't leave, they're to be treated as combatants and killed either by military action or starvation. Ain't that nice? Again, that's a war crime. Civilians, if they refuse to leave automatically, they're a terrorist, so therefore they must be killed. How is that not a war crime?
Yep.
It is. The Post then reported the more brutal strategy reflects a change in military leadership, and I think you guys covered this last week on INN News, that they just changed the names and the faces and then put the more monstrous policy in because you already knew who Ben Gvir and Smotrich were, and now you've got even more, was it Eichmann and Kaufman, or I don't even remember the guy's name. See, like I said, they just changed the names, and now you don't even remember who they are. The policy gets worse. The new policy is more in line with the view of Netanyahu. Herzi Halevi stepped down from the post. He was replaced by Eyal Zamir, who's even more fundamentalist and fanatic than Halevi was. Amir Avivi, a former deputy commander of the Gaza military division, explained to the Post that Trump's vigorous support for Tel Aviv gives Israeli military commanders more faith that they'll have the equipment needed in Gaza to level everything in sight and rebuild the Trump hotels for Jared. Quote, now that there's new IDF leadership, there's the backup from the U.S., and there's the fact that we have enough munitions and the fact that we finished our main missions in the north and can concentrate on Gaza. Avivi said, the plans are decisive. There will be a full-scale attack, and they will not stop until Hamas is eradicated completely. You mean the Palestinian people are eradicated completely. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
As a reminder, since October 7th, Israel has decimated the Strip and killed at least 50,000 Gazans. Still, Israeli and U.S. officials have said that Hamas has returned to its pre-war strength. So all of this was to get nowhere. All of this murder, death, and destruction, to have them right back to the same number they were, that's awfully convenient because it gives them the excuse and the chance to continue to go in and bomb people. Huh.
But Indy, Trump brokered the most ceasefirest of ceasefires.
Yossi Cooperwasser.
Peacemaker.
All right. The Post noted that the IDF would not be less restrained in order to defeat Hamas. No, they would not. All right. Yossi Cooperwasser, who's a former senior IDF intelligence official. There are no former. And head of the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security think tank, meaning that he's now just a spy here, explained, quote, there's less opposition now with Zamir and Katz. They're more ready. The government was committed to removing Hamas from power. The security establishment wasn't happy with this idea. They were trying to focus more on military assets and less on civilian assets. Because once you remove Hamas from Gaza, the IDF would have to rule Gaza. But there's nobody left. They're just going to rebuild. They're going to turn into a massive construction site. Yeah. They're going to do what they did to Lahaina. Put a bunch of fences and a bunch of fun and cover it all up. And you're not going to see it until they take the wraps off of it. It's going to turn into a construction site. Hard hats and legal documentation only. While the Post report says the IDF plans to wage a counterinsurgency in Gaza, Katz said Tel Aviv will expel the Palestinians and annex the Strip. So again, what kind of messaging? How are they going to expel them? Where are they going to expel them to? There's nowhere to send them to. You're going to kill them all. Quote, I've instructed the IDF to seize additional areas in Gaza while evacuating the population, and in West Bank too, and to expand the security zones around Gaza for the protection of Israeli communities and IDF soldiers. What? Meaning that the security zones around Gaza into Gaza. On Saturday night, the Israel, because nobody's gotten outside of Gaza. That's ridiculous. For the protection of the communities. For what? Nobody. Gaza, Hamas never broke the ceasefire, and they all admit that. Okay?
Yeah.
No Israelis have been killed since the start of the ceasefire, and Trump and they all agreed to that. Still, none. Since breaking the ceasefire and hostage deal, though, Israel has resumed large-scale bombing in Gaza. And additionally, Israeli troops have attacked Rafah in southern Gaza, the Netzarim corridor in central Gaza, and of course, displaced 40+ thousand people already in West Bank, including Jabalia. Fuck Israel again. This is the other story that I had to unfortunately report on with Israel this week. This is Sanaa Saeed, and others are going to talk about this. The Israelis surrounded, captured, and executed 15 Red Crescent civil defense workers. Those are ambulance drivers, and only one body had been retrieved at the time. There's no coexistence with an ideology and its adherents like this. They don't want to coexist. None that isn't a lie, at least. No. And yet, this is the scaffolding, the thing that is built and still props up Western civilization. This is the reason every institution in the U.S. and Western Europe willingly crumbles, folds itself inward in service of this genocide. The bones of Western civilization see its reflection in a pool of Palestinian blood. Look what. All right. This is from Al Jazeera and Hind Cowdery. Civil defense saying, again, the Israeli army buried the bodies of the martyrs at the site of the attack, making it difficult to locate them. The scenes at the scene were horrific and confirmed the deliberate targeting of ambulance and civil defense crews by the Israeli army. The Israeli army destroyed 5 Palestinian Red Crescent and civil defense vehicles and buried some of them after targeting them. What happened to the Palestinian Red Crescent and civil defense crews was a massacre that accounts to another war crime. And again, I've only been really talking about literally documented war crimes here. Again. Breaking execution of the 16 ambulance crew members by Israeli forces. Horrific massacre. Following coordination with the International Red Cross, civil defense teams entered the Tel al-Sultan area in Rafah, south of Gaza. It was confirmed that the IOF had executed all 16 members of the missing civil defense and Red Crescent teams who all disappeared 4 days ago. Let me guess, they are all Hamas. They were found buried near the barracks. Additionally, all Red Crescent ambulances and civil defense firefighting vehicles at the site were deliberately destroyed. Because they can't have any rescue equipment.
Well, they found them deliberately burying, Palestinian bodies with bulldozers and
earlier today,
hiding their murdered.
I was trying to capture the latest. Red Crescent Society confirmed 11 more bodies found in Rafah, 6 identified as its members and 4 with civil defense. The 11th body was still being identified. Any news on the hostages? Ask Bibi, because he's scuttled the deal multiple times in order to save his ass. Fuck that. They don't want to save the hostages. Israel has tried deliberately multiple times to not get the hostages. And then we've got this Mondoweiss article talking about, I can't. You guys talked about it Wednesday. Go read it. How Western media silence enables the killing of Palestinian journalists. 208. Yeah. And there they are. But I can't with that one. Here's another one. Abu Bakr Abed, who we started with. This is Dr. Sidhwa. Now, finally, thankfully, Dr. Mark Perlmutter was heard from. He and Dr. Sidhwa were in a building or in a hospital that was attacked and bombed by Israel. And they continued to work. Those guys are monsters. They're incredible. Like, in the best way. They're incredible.
Also,
go ahead.
In the words of Eva Bartlett, where is Dr. Hassam?
Oh, I forgot to, again, bring the tweet, but he got 6 more months in detention.
You got 6 more months of detention. For what? They don't say. Fucking. Ugh.
Now, Dr. Feroz Sidhwa, who we covered last summer, delivered the letter to the White House courageously, and he has been back and forth. And he, with Dr. Mark Perlmutter, were there. He sat down with Press TV. Mark Perlmutter is home. He actually sat down briefly with Jose Vega, I saw. But I wanted to take this minute 29 from a Press TV interview and play this.
The hospital cannot purchase new material. It can't receive new material. And it's not just humanitarian aid that's not being allowed in. Nothing is being allowed into Gaza. When a person is in battle, and then they are being cared for by a medical professional, the doctor, but also the patient are protected. So it's a double crime. It just doesn't matter in the Western discourse, in the United States, in Europe. You're not allowed to just say the simple and obvious truth. The Israelis are deliberately destroying a healthcare system with the backing of the United States and Europe. You're not allowed to just say simple things that are obvious to anybody with half a brain can figure it out. You ask a 10-year-old kid to look at the evidence, they'll tell you exactly what's going on. The only way that this can come about is because Palestinians, Arabs in general, but especially Palestinians, are just not seen as human beings. But I also want people to understand that we are committing crimes in Gaza. Everybody, people use the word complicit. They say America is complicit in Israel's crimes, but this isn't correct. That implies that Israel is committing the crimes and we're just in the background or something. The U.S. and Israel are committing crimes in Gaza together.
Yep.
It's American airplanes, it's American helicopters, it's American bombs. Even the tanks, these vaunted Merkava tanks, they're basically made in the United States. So I don't accept that my government has to be involved in committing crimes against people who have done us no wrong.
Man's a hero. Runs into battle zones to fix kids without anesthesia, without proper equipment, and to do all he can. Because they killed all the Palestinians.
That's some of the hardest stuff, by the way. The nurses coming back and talking about their stuff about, like, try giving a kid a fucking amputate a child with no anesthesia.
They killed all the doctors there. So, or kidnapped them and are torturing them like Hossam Abu Safia. So it requires international doctors to go in there because they're running out. And of course, with all the bombs that are being dropped and all the injuries that are being inflicted by Israel, you need doctors to take care of the injured. They don't really want you to have that, so they're destroying the ambulances, and they're destroying the healthcare workers, and they destroy the roads, so the ambulances, even if they did exist, couldn't get there. I mean, all of these are war crimes, and nobody does anything about it. And really, it's going to be up to China.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's going to be up to China. They are the other major world power that could stand up and say, enough. We're done. They're done with this. We're not going to allow it anymore. We're not going to permit it. And we will start arming and funding the Palestinians.
Africa, hopefully, parts of it.
Yeah, but Africa...
South America.
Africa needs a trading partner. They need someone. Yep. China, Belt and Road isn't established and there enough yet, unfortunately. Yep. And again, I hate doing that this every time.
Russia should fucking be doing shit already.
They're selling out. They're selling out to Israel. They've already started to. And what a surprise. Somebody sent, I think it was 7 Seas actually posted a thing about and showing Putin sitting across the table from the Lubavitch Chabad guys.
BB.
No, not even. Yeah. No, the Lubavitch Chabad representatives and rabbis. They're all part of they're all part of it. So, I'm sorry, everyone, but fuck Israel. This is awful. Fuck Israel. And they can't be allowed to continue to do this.
Yeah.
And we are also demonetized this channel if you're able to. And of means, please don't give to the platforms. Do it via Cash App, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network or paypal.me/Indie News Network as a friend and family. And that gives us no fees. We like having no fees because that puts the most money in our pocket. Otherwise, we're paying the banks and we're paying the multi-billionaires and we're paying the hedge funds and they're taking their cut. We don't need them to do that. They can get their cut from somebody else. Thank you so much. Support independent media, kids.
Yes, sir.
We need it more than ever. We love you, fam.
Bye, Felicia. Mwah. Ciao, baby.
No! We just fucking lost the stream.
Can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen? To 50,000 died, and now we know our mission. We form a militia, make Congress a prison. No, I play civil when all these dead won't make you listen. What's more American than slaying your oppressors? What's more American than liberty or death first? God, I thought we were founded on abolishing the tyranny of those who would starve a village all to live empirically. And I regret that I have only one life to give for my cause now that I can see the cause so clearly.
See, I want our leaders, regardless of party, to fear me.